Mercedes have finalized the last major upgrade package for the W15 for the 2024 Formula 1 season, and it's going to be arriving in time for the next race down in Austin, Texas. Now, it's being described as what will be a change to the look of the car. Now, when I personally think about what that could potentially mean in terms of the areas on the W15 that could undergo a change, that would be a visual change for us all to look at and to spot. The most obvious area is of course going to be the side pods. It's the only area on the entirety of the W15 that hasn't undergone some sort of major upgrade or iteration change on there, and so I feel that's the last point on the W15 that they've going to have been targeting for an upgrade. And of course, this final upgrade package is not only going to be indicative of performance for this final couple of rounds of the season, but of course very much the platform and the starting base of the design for the W16 for the 2025 season, which will be piloted by both George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. And so it's an upgrade package which is going to have a lot of importance behind it with regards to its overall on-track performance, as it's the starting point for the team as they look to kind of continue into the next season. And of course, with it being my belief that they're going to make a substantial change visibly to the side pods of the W15, it leaves a lot of room in terms of the interpretation of what we believe they may do with their side pods. There's a lot of possible routes they could go down. And I think what they're going to be doing is going the route that most teams have either started the season with or gone towards. And that is, of course, the Red Bull inspired side pod overbite. Now, there's a lot of teams that have this overbite style on their side pod configuration. We have Red Bull, which started the season like that. Then we've got the likes of Ferrari following suit and going down that direction. And of course, that brought them a lot of performance, albeit with an offset in terms of having, for the majority of the season, high-speed porpoising, which was a major issue for them. But thankfully for them, with their latest upgrade, they too have now got on top of that. So I believe Mercedes will go the route of this overbite system on their W15, and I think hopefully for their sake they will not introduce alongside that kind of side effects with regards to high speed instability and porpoising. That would be a disaster for the team, considering the fact they've had a lot of that not only in the past, but at the beginning of this year they had issues in the high speed corners as well. But that was minus the porpoising. So hopefully for their sake, it is smooth sailing with this final major upgrade package. They can bolt it on, they can do a back-to-back with the old and new over the kind of first two practice sessions or the first practice session between the two drivers, and then just head off into the main part of the weekend with both drivers having the new package on, and it brings an upturn in performance against their rivals for this weekend coming up in Austin in a couple of weeks. Now, of course, with it being a huge upgrade package, as they state, that isn't obviously going to be the only upgrades which are being brought to the W15 for that weekend. We also know that they'll be bringing a brand new floor, as it's been publicly written about and spoken about by team members across all of the social media throughout the last couple of race weekends. And of course, this comes on the back of a very underachieving floor upgrade which they bought in Spa but never raced with. Well, they did race with on two occasions, but they were both very unsuccessful. So there's a lot of importance also on the learnings and findings that they had with that floor as they look to introduce the final iteration of W15 Floor for the next event. And I'm sure there's a possible avenue for changes in other areas of the car. Maybe they will have a tweak to the front wing. They maybe have a tweak to some sort of rear wing end plates. Who really knows? But of course, with such a major change happening in the heart of the F1 ground effect error of a Formula 1 car, namely the floor and sidepod region. That has to be put in tandem with goings on at the front wing. They have to make sure that where the air is hitting that front wing on the W15 is going to be working in coordination, in harmony with the floor and the sidepod. So I would presume, with major changes happening to the floor and sidepod region, which is the major point of view with regards to where the airflow is being guided towards the W15's diffuser, there's going to have to be some sort of changes with regards to the front wing and the kind of geometries that they have in play. So that is the whole upgrade package I would presume that they're going to be having there. Now, of course, then this comes to the next point. What does this mean for the on-track performance of the W15 for the rest of the season? Is it going to bring them back into the ballpark of potentially fighting for race victories and for pole positions again, as we saw at the end of the first half of the season? Well, that is very much up for debate. And I say that because there is going to be, at some stage, a huge hefty upgrade package on both the Red Bull and most likely the McLaren car. And of course that is going to have a knock-on effect of how effective the upgrade package is of the Mercedes W15. If they can take a tenth or two out of their competitors with regarding all these three teams bringing upgrades at the same time, then of course that would definitely elevate them a lot closer and then fight for these pole positions, these podiums, these race victories. And if it doesn't and it leaves them in a status quo, then it's quite obvious it's going to leave them where they are, fighting for, most likely on a race weekend where not a lot of kind of shenanigans happens on track, they'll just be fighting for the lower paying positions with regards to the top 5, but just a little bit outside of the podiums. So that is the overall look and feel and scope of how I perceive what is going to be happening with regards to the W15. But yeah, that is where I'm going to wrap it up, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, do leave a like. If you're new and have enjoyed the content, do subscribe and turn on notifications for all future F1 content. Right, everyone? I will catch you all later.